in this hearing today is to hear from you and see how can Congress take actions to be able to provide tools and help to assist small businesses that are the job creators in our country. I can tell you that help didn't come soon enough for your business, but I hope that in the process of discussing a second stimulus package, that we are able to use the insights that we are getting from you today to be able to have some input into the end product of that second stimulus package. So I would like to ask you, we know that you, the company you run has been in operation since 1925, and I'm sure that you have faced many obstacles throughout those times. However, you discuss how the problems in the housing market compounded the challenges facing your lender. Do you believe that if credit was made more available, that companies like yours might be able to rebound rather than shut their doors?
I think probably if they would have remained tightened earlier, we wouldn't have hit this wall. So now, yes, probably, but yeah, I would say probably so.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
from your testimony, it is clear that banks want to lend, but again, we have heard so many businesses express difficulty in getting loans. How can we resolve this disconnect and help businesses find lenders who are ready, willing, and able to help?
Well, the first step was to unfreeze the credit markets. I know so often we look at the financial markets as the measure. Stock market went up, stock market went down. But it's really the credit markets where the problem lies. And no matter what our desire as a small bank is to make loans, if the larger banks and if the bond market is tied up and non-functioning, it will be very difficult to meet all of the needs in our country for credit. So again, I think that it was very, very important that you moved forward as you did. To Congressman Ellsworth's point, I know he was conflicted a bit, using that word again, on somebody wants a loan, we lower the standards, is that a good idea? And I would submit to you it's not a good idea. I think that's what did get us into trouble. I believe that as a banker, we are doing our customer a favor when we tell them no if we truly believe they're not going to succeed. To make a loan to somebody that is going to result in their failure does not make sense. But to work with them to understand how they can move forward, and I know you indicated that if they would have kept their standards steady throughout, that you would still be in business today. And I believe that. I received an email the other day. That email was from a customer that said they had come in to see me, and I know the year because they said to ask questions about Y2K. So it was 1999 timeframe. And that customer indicated that they had liked my answers and they had opened accounts with our bank. And subsequently, we turned down a loan to them. They were frustrated, they were angry, and they left our bank. His email was to say he shouldn't have been granted that loan, that he's back because if we would have told him no, he would have been in better financial stature at this point in time, and that they'd moved back to our bank because he appreciates the fact that we underwrite loans, that we are concerned about the success for our customers and the suitability of loans. So you're absolutely right. The answer is not to lower credit standards. It's to inject the capital and the liquidity.
Mr. Wilson, Yes, Mr. Bradbury.
I'd like to respond a little bit. I think we all can select anecdotal stories in all fairness, Mr. Wilson. There's real math at work here. Whether we talk about a farmer whose input costs have gone up 100%, over 100%, his financials haven't changed, but to deny credit under those circumstances, that's beyond his control. He or she hasn't changed a thing. In the case of our company, steel going up 85%, we expend $6 to $8 million a month, and we don't get it back at the earliest until 90 days, usually 120 days. And to deny credit in those circumstances based upon those facts, to me, is not appropriate. So there are proper times when businesses are failing across the board. But we are in my view, very unusual times with $140 at one point oil, steel up 85%, some of the other figures. These for small businesses are just draconian percentages that we have to deal with, and frankly, we need the help of the banking community. Thank you.
Mr. Bradbury, over the past few months, there has been a wide discussion on the challenges facing the automakers in the United States. How important is the domestic auto industry for small businesses like yours and others across the country?
Well, in automotive, there are many tiers of suppliers. We fit in there are 5 tiers up to the OEM level. We fit in the tier 2 to 3, meaning we have a lot of tiers below us that support us. As credit tightens, there was a lot of weak companies already going into this. And, fortunately for us, and I'm going to kind of elaborate a little here, is we have a fiscal responsibility to control our debt as a small company, and we have our stakeholders insist that we pay our debts off. Had that not been the case, I might be sitting in his shoes today, because we were about ready to grow and expand not even a year ago. And because it's something, we ran into some issues with some bond financing on the property, we decided not to, and luckily that saved us a lot of extra costs. But all the communities, we supply $20 million in income into our community. That's a significant amount in taxes, wages, not to mention all the other suppliers' products we buy. So there's a tremendous ripple effect that's present there if they start to collapse.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, you discussed many small manufacturers are currently struggling with decreased demand for their products. Has your company's sales been affected, and are you considering layoff or delaying expansion plans?
We actually are in a growth mode. We are in a growth mode because we were concerned about the volatility in America. We approached the Kansas World Trade Center and also the U.S. Department of Commerce. We didn't start exporting until just 3 years ago. With their help, we are now, as I mentioned in my testimony, exporting to Russia, Kazakhstan, Ukraine, Australia, a little bit to the UK, and we're developing the skills. And frankly, there is a huge body of knowledge on how to finance at Ex-Im Bank and the paperwork that's required. This is an area both for Krause and the Small Enterprise Committee that we're going to aggressively go after. Our strategy, because of the volatility within America, has been to stabilize by going global. When America goes through the spasms, and that's what my view is of this, this has provided a buffer. So we actually are growing. I think agricultural equipment producers generally have been growing this past year because of the global shortage of food. Construction equipment, conversely, very much mirrors the general economy, the reduction in infrastructure, bridges, building, residential. They are hurting to a greater extent than my company is.